We are in part 2 of Fully Engaged. How will we ever engage our culture and our world and our society if we're not engaged? This week, we're looking at providence. Bring up the slide, please. Thank you. The Bible says, Ephesians 2, out of the Living Translation, salvation is not a reward for good things we have done, so none of us can boast about it, for we are God's masterpiece. You're not the sum total of the problems that you've created. You're not the product of the sin that you've committed. You are not. But what you are is a new creation in Christ. We have trouble believing that sometimes. Pretty cool piece of artwork, huh? Looks like this really neat impressionistic painting. But it's not. Go to the next one. Again, pretty cool. Sort of a modern twist on impressionism, but it's a picture. If you would go to the next slide. See, it's a girl who's painted in the oils, who's standing in front of a background, who's being photographed. Alex Mead, who's from Washington, D.C., is a illumination artist, which I really get the kick out of what she does. I'll show you some of the ones that are side by side. Go ahead. Here's the guy, and then here's the picture. Go to the next one. Lady in the rain slicker. It looks like it's this really cool picture, but in fact it is a lady in a rain slicker sitting in front of a blue background. Let's go to the old guy who's the World War II vet. Yes, yes. Here he is in the painting, and here he is standing in front of the painting. Things are not always what they seem to be, do they? We are God's masterpiece. You are not the illusion that Satan wants to think that you are. He will play mind games with you. That's why later on Ephesians 6, it talks about gird up your loins, gird up your mind, put on the full armor of God. Why? Because you are not what Satan says you are. You're a new creation. You have a provenance. Go ahead. Keep going. Provenance. Yes. What is that? What in the world is he talking about? Provenance is from the French provenir, to come from. You have an origin. My wife and I used to be antique dealers. Something radically cool about history. A piece of china that belonged to George Washington is priceless. A piece of china that was chipped by me when I was 12 is worthless. But you have this heavenly origin that you have to see. Go ahead. I love this picture because it combines faith and antiques. This is a piece from of Judica. And this lady was putting up this piece for auction. And she said it was passed down to the family. I didn't think much of it. It was going to go to Christie's. I didn't know what it could be worth. But in the midst of the whole thing, she discovered an old catalog. Go ahead. She discovered this old catalog of Jewish ritual silver that was belonged by Mrs. Miriam Salmon from New York, and it was sold in 1949 at this gallery. Because she found the provenance, it sold for $189,000. Because she found the origin. The challenge that I want to put out to you guys today is, have you found your origin? Have you put on the skin of who you are? It's a challenge. It's a challenge. You know, the last part of the verse, it says this in Ephesians 11. He has created us anew in Christ so that we can do the things that he planned for us long ago. Read a couple passages to you this morning because I want you to hear this. I want you to bathe your heart and your mind, because it's all about your identity. You know, we're going to get eventually in this. This is a 3-part series. The second part of the series, we're going to talk about how you're wired. Okay? The third part of the series, we're going to talk about how God wants to empower you to do great things. Well, the problem is you never get to do those 2 things if you aren't sure of the identity that you have in Christ. Where you come from matters. It says in Philippians 4, rejoice in the Lord always. Delight, gladden yourselves in Him. Again, I say rejoice. Let all men know and perceive and recognize your unselfishness, your considerateness, your forbearing spirit, because the Lord is near and He's coming soon. Do not fret or have anxiety about anything, but in every circumstance, in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, continue to make your wants known to God. And God's peace shall be yours, that tranquil state of a soul assured of its salvation through Christ, so fearing nothing from God and being content with all its earthly lot, whatever that is, that you have peace that transcends all understanding. And it shall garrison and mount guard over your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. For we rest, brethren, in whatsoever is true, whatsoever is worthy of reverence and honorable and seemly, whatsoever is just, whatsoever is pure, whatsoever is lovely and lovable, whatsoever is kind and winsome and gracious, if there be any virtue, any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think on and weigh in on and take account of these things and fix your minds on them. You see, practice what you have learned and received and heard in me, and model your way out of living out of it, and the God of peace will be with you. And he goes on in verse 13 to say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You have a providence.